Thank you.
Right.
Are you suggesting that someone's trying to make a real-life sequel?
Stab 2? Who'd want to do that? Sequels suck.
Two in the box!
Ready to go.
We be fast and
They be slow.
Wow. A second Super Saiyan? Second in order, perhaps, but by no means in stature. Your fight is with me now.
And when I kill you, I will have killed the last Jedi.
Man, I can't fucking believe this. Another basement, another elevator. How could the same shit happen to the same guy twice?
Oh, please, please. By definition alone, they're inferior films.
Greetings, everyone, and thanks for tuning back into Inside the Sequel. I'm your host, as always, Chris. And this is the podcast where we dedicate our love and attention to sequel movies that really don't get enough attention. And maybe we even try to argue if they're even better than the original. Today's episode, I'm really excited about because it's a first-time watch for me. And that is the 1997 Jurassic Park sequel, The Lost World.
Mommy! Daddy! I found something!
A British family on a yacht cruise stumbled upon Site B.
And now it's only a matter of time before this lost world is found and pillaged.
Hopefully we've kept this island quarantined and contained, but I'm in shock about all this.
Isn't it great?
Ooh, that's how it always starts. But then later there's running and screaming.
What the hell was that?
Go. As fast as you can.
I need you to send rescue immediately.
Taking dinosaurs off this island is the worst idea in history of bad ideas.
Let's get this movable beast underway.
Don't move!
What is it?
Mommy's very angry.
And to have some help on this episode, because everyone I feel like who knows anything about me knows my history with Jurassic Park. I needed to have someone who could get my back, and I have none other than co-host of the super popular and entertaining podcast, The Terror Table. I have Buzi. So if you remember Buzi, or I guess if you remember Mitch, sorry, he is another co-host of The Terror Table. Well, now we have his I don't know, are you Nightwing? Are you Robin? I don't know how the dynamic works on The Terror Table, but I'm gonna have Buzi say hi to everyone. Buzi.
Hello. I was letting you keep going, so I was like, yeah, say more nice things about me.
Oh.
And then you started talking about Nightwing, and I was like, oh shit, I don't know a lot about this.
Oh, dude, like I don't know, like who calls the shots on The Terror Table? That's the big question. I need to sneak behind the curtain there.
Who calls the shots?
Yeah,
dude, I don't know if it like comes across in our episodes, but we are like definitely this weird collective. Is that even like we've done how many episodes and we still don't know like whose turn it is to say what, because we'll just be like, I don't know, what do you think? So that's like behind the scenes is a lot of just like, well, I don't know, what do you want to have today? That's a lot of it.
My favorite parts of The Terror Table are when like it's just kind of quiet and then somebody goes like, anybody watch anything else? And then you'll be like, actually, I have one more. And it's I don't know if anybody knows this, but Buzi is like, I think, co-owner of Tubi because he spends so much time on there.
Dude, what an amazing place to be. Honest, I if like anyone who's ever like, hey, what's the best free app? Hands down, Tubi.
100%. Like some dudes might say like the hub. You know which hub I'm talking about, but I would probably say Tubi I spend a little bit more time on.
Do you have a membership on the hub? Like, are you one of those guys who comments? I always wonder who these brave souls are that are out there commenting. Because a lot of times it's weird shit, right? Have you ever read any of them?
In my formative years, I did see people asking questions about like math homework or like guys proclaiming things like they're like, I'm gonna like, hey guys, it's my last day on here, and it's like I'm gonna start getting my shit together, and everyone just like upvoting it.
Yeah. I swear I saw one where it was in the comment section. It was like right around when the first Hobbit movie had come out, and it was just a link. It was like a Pornhub link within a Pornhub video, and it was to the fucking. It's like, if you want to watch the new Hobbit movie, it's like, what a weird place to find a link for that, because nobody asked for it. It wasn't like, hey, does anyone have a link on here? Like,
honestly, a lot of movies that I've typed in like free movies, I've searched on YouTube. Like if I'm like, oh, new movie I want to watch that I'm not going to pay movie theater prices for, it'll take me to a porn site, and I'll be like, it is free and it's not bad quality. We'll just press F to full screen this bad boy. Forget where we're at.
You know what? And that's just that's it's just part of life, you know? Sometimes you just got to watch those movies on less than reputable sites.
Sure. I mean, I wasn't going to pay a ticket to see Green Book, but I'd be damned if I didn't see it to get in that controversy. Here we are. But yeah, no, Tubi, 100%. The thing that hits about it is like when you load up the app and it does that little bing, and then the little eye, like, you know, like jumps up and stuff. I'm like, the animators for this logo like deserve respect.
They care. Also, just the level of, I don't know how they decided to reach out or go about getting movies on there, but I recently came across, have you ever heard of Badass?
No.
It's if you Google it, it's Danny Trejo, and then there's a sequel called Bad Asses, and it's him and the guy from, oh my goodness, from Predator 2. I can't remember his name.
Danny Glover.
Yeah.
Oh,
but
God.
it's like, it's the weirdest movies that no one's ever heard of. Tubi has them.
I've been lurking on Tubi lately. There's some good shit on there. Like, I don't know, like what we were gonna do. I slid into Buzi's DMs, everyone, and said, "Hey, so you can hop in on or what?" And when we were talking about Jurassic Park: Lost World, I went on Tubi to see if it was on there, and a bunch of like knockoff Jurassic Park movies came out. And I'm not gonna lie, they look kind of good.
Oh, dude, you're looking at that sneaky cover art. That's those movies that like get you at Walmart when you're there like drunk at 1 a.m. where it's like, hey, I didn't know Jurassic Park 5 is out, and then you take it home and it's like something you've never seen before.
Yeah, I think yeah, dude, I get sold by some of those covers. That's probably how I saw like that third Anaconda movie. I mean, I don't know why I watched it, but I think because David Hasselhoff was in it, but like it had one of those covers, so.
It is one of the deadliest predators evolution ever created. The Anaconda.
It was a typical anaconda. It certainly isn't typical now.
Oh no, she's gone.
We need backup ASAP.
She's about to give birth.
In about 12 hours, this entire country is going to be overrun with baby snakes.
Once you see this thing, you unload everything you can until it stops moving, and you shoot only for the head. David Hasselhoff, Crystal Allen, Anaconda 3, Offspring.
I'm a sucker for
that. Was the selling point of that one altogether. Yeah. Also, you know, I just want to say, like, probably like top 5, one of my favorite movies in the world is on Tubi, and that's Black Christmas, like the original Black Christmas.
Silent night, evil night. Starring Olivia Hussey. Keir Delay. Saxon. If this movie doesn't make your skin crawl, it's on too tight. Silent Night, Evil Night, rated R.
And it blows my mind that something that quality is on there, and people don't really talk about it.
Honestly, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, we're having jokes about Tubi, but man, it does have some seriously good shit. That's why I watched the original Black Sunday.
Yeah. Also, I believe Texas Chainsaw is on there.
It is. Yeah. They have like a small section where you can like, well, like you can like go to like search the channels and they'll have different genres and they start off with the best shit they have. Like they don't throw like Netflix, like these really shitty movies all at once. They'll like show you the good stuff at first.
Exactly. But that's just like my go-to is if anyone's just like, oh, why would I want to watch Tubi? It's like there are literal classics on there.
Yes. Yeah. And honestly, that's anybody who knows me, I'll always champion, before you blind buy watch something. Tubi has a lot of boutique labels like Vinegar Syndrome and like Severance stuff on there.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I'm finding I'm watching all these weird sci-fi movies from the mid 90s that like have no not VHS, the DVD release or whatever are on Tubi. And it's like, this is my only way to see some of these and they're incredible.
Yeah. Just like, so I knew I had to bring up Tubi because like if anybody listens to the Terror Table, Buzi always has something like he's like I don't know, he's like one of those old school like salesmen like on the street, like has the trench coat and like he'll open it up. He'll be like, "What have you seen lately?" And he'll like open his coat and like pull out a Tubi movie scene. That's how I always think of it. It's like, let me see if I got one more for you.
Hey buddy, have you seen Mother from 1990? It's a Russian movie. Like that's that. And you know what the thing is? I think I would be, if that is how I am portrayed, I'm like the friendliest guy about it. Because I'm like, I genuinely want you to watch this trash. But I look kind of shady while I'm doing it.
The most genuinely awesome thing, Buzi, besides having you on here, is like always seeing your memes on Instagram. Like those are like screenshots. Like every other screenshot of your, like you ever get a notification is probably from me. And I share it with my and I'm like, can we just give praise to this very quickly? They're like,
thank you so much. I know that like it seems like I don't care at all, but I love putting out quality content and I'm just glad that people enjoy it.
I mean, deadlift is like enough of a cherishable thing. Like I love that Instagram handle, but like when you hit that story and you see a couple of memes on there, it's just like, who's this legend? Like, where does he get off on putting out this great content?
Dude, and the funniest part, there's two of us that have the same handle and we're actually friends. Like we had a whole conversation about it and like I got to know him and he like shout out to that dude with the same handle as me, but he actually owns a tortoise and this thing's like 60 years old and he like tells me all this weird shit about it. It's awesome.
Honestly, growing up, tortoises like kind of freaked me out because like the long necks and like how they outstretch them, like it just scared me as a kid.
Did you have actual tortoises there, or just like seeing them like
just
on
like
TV?
Seeing them like on TV?
Oh, okay.
Just because like they extended their necks and they like I was just like, well, that's kind of weird. But I love Ninja Turtles growing up, so I don't know.
It's because they had like big traps, so they hid their neck.
Or it was like the amount of 90s references I actually understood. Like when Mikey was like, who is this guy? Wayne Gretzky on steroids? I'm like, is that a hockey reference there? That's awesome. But also you're a Blackhawks fan, so I won't talk about Gretzky too much.
You know what? They actually put out this thing the other day of like all the different teams he scored on and how many times. He actually didn't light us up as bad as I thought. So like, I don't hate him.
Yeah. Yeah, I was kind of crazy, like, when you were, like, showing off, like, you're a Blackhawks fan and stuff. I'm like, this guy lives in Canada and he's a Hawks fan. Like, I'm, like, from Northern Illinois. like, what are the odds? That's pretty sweet. So, respect to you there.
And that's the thing is, like, I know very little about, like, actual Chicago. And it's, like, a destination I want to go. I know that there's some rough areas in Chicago, but, like, I want to go to all the cool shit.
Right. Well, one of these days when COVID, ceases and like chills out, you and like the guys will have to come down and I'll give you guys all a tour like I did some of my friends. So I think they had a good time. It was a really good night. Like my boys from Missouri, like Daniel and Seth, like they came to my parents' house. We got drunk and watched Cannibal Holocaust. It was an amazing.
Dude, those are the kind of experiences you want. Is like you don't have to do something crazy, but it's just like getting to hang out with people and show them like a little slice of your day-to-day life is kind of cool. It's like, yeah, sure, let me go hang out at your parents' place, whatever.
Yeah, I think my parents left or went upstairs. I don't know what it was, because like if they saw me watching that, I'd beat my own ass, like in front of them.
I think it would be weirder if they like would have stayed. Did you ever have like that friend whose parents would like sit and watch the start of a movie with you, or like an ex-girlfriend's like dad? Do you know, like they would sit and watch the first like 10 minutes of a movie with you, and you're like, why are you doing this?
Yeah, I always got annoyed with parents who would like sit in and like watch something like, oh, I'm about to watch a Serbian film. Like, Dad, why are you sitting here with me? Like, go talk to mom or something.
Yeah, like we're not being homies right now. I don't want to play catch or whatever.
It's like, we'll watch Gladiator after I'm done with this exploitation movie. Like, chill.
Yeah, we'll watch Gladiator for like the 68th time. You'll tell me how it's your favorite movie.
So before we even get started, because we're not even talking about Jurassic Park yet, which I'm fine with. I'm having too good of a time. So I know you're also known on the internet as being a champion of the '98 Godzilla movie, which
yeah, dude. And I heard that you are as well. A little bit.
I low-key stan it. Like I act like I'm too cool for it, but like I have to remember my humble roots of like always renting that VHS all the time. And I even had a toy of '98 Zilla. So it's like, yeah, I cried at Marriage Story when I saw that the kid was playing with the Godzilla from '98. I was like just like childhood memories coming all at once. I was like, fuck.
They had some sweet figurines, and I just want to say, like, honestly, if the effects were better, that movie would probably hold up a lot better for people, because I think the story is a very interesting idea for Godzilla. That it's a very Americanized King Kong version of Godzilla. Do you know what I mean? And that's what I love about it. I don't know.
I always thought it was crazy that it's a female Godzilla laying eggs, and I thought the babies were a good part of it.
Oh, I did too. I love it. And then it's kind of comes back to Jurassic Park, honestly.
Yeah.
It's like they were like the Velociraptors, basically.
Pretty much.
But also that intro, the fucking opening with the old guy, like, Godzilla. Oh, amazing.
Yeah, and you got Matthew Broderick, which I'm gonna be honest, I don't mind too much. I think he fits a '90s Godzilla movie. I couldn't think of someone else to put in there. He's like your off-brand actor for that kind of stuff.
And you know what I like about him is he was part of that generation of like having lead actors who weren't overly jacked and couldn't figure out things immediately. Like he just felt like a dude whose shit was happening to. I don't know. Like if they would, it's different now.
Yeah, it's a movie. Like I'm still bucking to just buy the 4K because fuck it, why not get it the most pristine version of that movie?
I'm gonna, you know what? Anyone else can say what they want, but I'll totally back that. I'll be there with you.
Yeah, it's like also one of the few Godzilla movies where Godzilla isn't absolutely as like bigger than the city itself. Like he's in New York City, or she's in New York City, and like every other Godzilla movie, they're terrorizing the entire city. But this one, she's like low key going through like between buildings. She's not like destroying an entire city.
That was one of my favorites with the helicopters. Like,
yeah,
how
like
fun is that?
Yeah. I don't know. It's like someone who's a huge Godzilla fan. Like you got to just appreciate it, you know?
I guess, I mean, maybe it's because I love it so much, but I guess I'm assuming with most Godzilla fans that it's just like this bastard spawn.
You know what's funny? I catch myself like dissing 2014's Godzilla more than 98.
I think deservedly, honestly. Because if you look at the trailers comparatively, like 98 never sold you the same shit.
I think because 98 felt like such a genuine, like, this is the American take on Godzilla. Whereas 2014 is like, we're doing an homage to like Japanese Godzilla and doing it with an American spin. And I'm like, you got the guy from Kick-Ass, like, and Ken Watanabe. Like, you got to do a little bit more than just that, I don't know.
Well, I mean, like, Breaking Bad had just ended around then, too. So you had, like, a little bit of that, too. It was like, ooh, Chris, like...
So true. I think Gareth Edwards just, like, was like, how do I piss off high school Chris? We barely give him Godzilla in his senior year of high school watching this movie in theaters. I think like, Gareth Edwards just has that.
He's, like, following you, like, on some ghost account on Facebook to gain recon of this. He's like, yeah, you fucking like that idea?
God, I hope at least 2014, I felt like this was a personal attack on me. Leaving that theater, like I was like so excited for it, and I felt so like slighted. I was like, this feels almost too precise, like to be like pissing me off, like to just make a normal movie that isn't good. It just felt like strategically planned, and I'll go to the grave saying that.
Can you imagine just having this moment after you're done at the theater where like maybe your minds just somehow connect for 2 seconds? You know, like a Star Wars moment. You can, you can hear each other's thoughts. And it's like, fucking, did you like my movie? And you're like, no, fuck you, I hated it. It's like, it's like I accomplished what I wanted.
Yeah, I honestly think that. So if I ever got a chance to meet Gareth Edwards, I feel like he'd already know just looking at me. He's like, this guy fucking hates me. Like, yeah, I could never meet him if I ever could. I couldn't do it. But Buzi, I'm so happy to have you on here, man. But as you know, being a first-time guest, dude, you got to go through the gauntlet. So like, tell me some stuff about you and some sequels, guy. Like, where are you at with them? Because Mitch, when he was on, he was all about sequels. I kind of want to hear your take on it.
Dude, I loved your guys' episode. You guys were just having so much fun. And like, honestly, I'm just going to say, like, Mitch loves you. And he was very excited when he found out that I'm going to be on here. And I'm really excited that you reached out because I'm like, I never want to invite myself on podcasts. That's like a weird thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's exactly how I feel too. So that's why I started my own podcast, just so I could avoid that a little bit. But then I feel weird sliding in DMs and being like, hey, like, I know you were on like a big podcast last week, but do you want to be on my small little podcast to talk about a shitty sequel?
Dude, you know what? I love that all our podcasts are getting to know each other. Like it's this weird little family, and I love it so much.
It's like the Texas Chainsaw family for sure, but I still love it nonetheless.
That would be our headquarters, just this really shitty hot house full of like guts.
But never catch me going to Texas is the thing. Like I probably would never go to fucking Texas. Okay, but what are some sequels, guy, that you enjoy? I'm curious.
Okay, so you kind of like sprung this on me, and I know I should have like. So I wrote down some, and you're gonna be like, "Why the fuck did he say any of these?" But this is the first one I'm gonna say is one that actually pitched as we should do an episode on, and you kind of skirted around it instantly. So it's like, okay, he doesn't want to talk about it, which is Blue Crush 2.
You said skirted, but like I'm very aware of what Blue Crush is, and like I've only seen the trailer of the first movie, and that's about it. But talk to me about Blue Crush 2, guy. Like, I mean, if you liked being on here after this, we'll be back on to do a Blue Crush 2. I promise you.
Okay, so Blue Crush 2 started as I'd actually had never seen Blue Crush 1 when I watched Blue Crush 2. It was given to me as a gift, and it was basically like, if I buy you this other thing, you have to watch this and talk about it. I did actually, it was like a Terror Table episode a long time ago. I talked about this, but basically I reviewed it and I was like, this movie is the weirdest fucking thing. And I don't think anybody who has ever watched, or I don't think anyone who like knew anything about Blue Crush 1 had anything to do with 2. It was just its own thing. But basically it's just about this girl coming to a different country, and she basically ruins everybody's lives, including this like chimp who lives at this fort with a bunch of them. And then she wins a surf competition, and then everyone cheers for them, but she's homeless, or everyone's homeless. I don't know. It's the weirdest. I love it so much though, and I would love to come back on and talk about it. I'm not doing a great job of selling it though.
No, I respect that. You pitched a surfer sequel movie, because like surfer movies, like outside of Point Break, I'm kind of like, like I don't know too much about them. I think about what is that one? What is it? It's a surfer movie with Gerard Butler.
Gerard Butler was in a surfer movie? Like,
yeah.
Oh, this is such a Mitch question. Oh, I'm terrible with these.
I don't even remember what it's called, but I know he's in a surfer movie that I kind of want to check out too. So we might have to do some research on this genre.
Do you remember like that weird part of the? It was like mid 2000s where surfing was cool for like a split second. And everyone was doing, like, I don't know, there was like a weird point where like puka shell necklaces were cool for a hot second.
You know what's
surfing movies?
Yeah, dude. I think surfing is like the like basically like what was a pre to come kind of thing. Like not pre come. I should have worded it differently. But it was like a precursor to like what skateboarding is now. Like you see so many movies like about skateboarding that's like everyone's like skating's fucking tight and stuff like that. And it's like skating and like surfing has always been cool. It's just like we were all so untalented to learn how to do either or, and now we just want to be a part of that, culture. That's what I
right.
think.
Which is like, and it's super weird that it was even interesting here because like where I live, we're
Yeah.
landlocked, and it's like, you know what I mean? Like, it's such a weird thing to be like, oh fuck yeah, surf and like living that lifestyle, and it's like we've never experienced it.
It's so true. To me, I like to kayak. That's like the most badass thing I can do on the water. Is I'll kayak.
Oh, dude, I love kayaking.
Yeah.
Are you gonna take me? Like I could hop on your back and we can go together.
Dude,
like I would.
We could do like a double. That'd be kind of sweet.
I want to be your Yoda.
Last time I went kayaking was in community college, and I went with like it was like a field trip with my professor and a couple of students,
right.
And it was just an excuse to like go kayaking in Minnesota, and it was really kind of hot and sticky, and it was hilly, but like we kayaked on like isolated parts and like got drunk at night around a fire, and then I remember skinny dipping with a classmate once, and I never was the same.
That sounds like a great experience. It sounds like you came back a man.
I found myself in that.
Yeah, you left you Alexander Supertramp, but you came back.
I just remember being like, am I really about to go get naked in front of a classmate and then go to class with them this next week after?
Oh, were you weird about it after? Oh, guy.
It was cold. I will say it was a cold, brisk morning. So I won't specify if it was a guy or girl, but it was a classmate. What's another sequel you got, guy?
Dude, let's talk about Jaws 2.
Oh, God. Okay, so we're talking about Lost World, but I have not Jaws is like Jurassic Park for me, where I just recently watched these movies in the last 5 years.
Right. So you don't have the I'm sorry, I have such like deep roots with all these things. So these are like things I grew up with, and it's so interesting to have that take of like not growing up with it.
Yeah,
so
I kind of wish I did. I'm not gonna lie, but I was too busy watching like Alien and like Ogre from 2008. It's like
shout out Ogre from 2008.
Yeah, like the CGI Ogre, and way too much time watching Shrek 2. So it's like I didn't get to watch Jaws or Jurassic Park growing up, but I respect people's love for them. I totally do.
Dude, Jaws 2 is like, think about it, is like Jaws is considered to be basically like the best movie. It's in everybody's, you know what I mean? It's in everybody's top 10 pretty much.
Yeah.
Or, in general. But to have a sequel that's actually really, really good is super impressive. And I think it kind of comes back to when we talk about Jurassic Park later, is I think this movie did a great job of holding up what is like probably one of the hardest things ever to follow up. Yeah. It's like trying to follow up Alien, So it's amazing that these things happen. I think it does a great job in being just as terrifying.
Sweet. Wow, it's another creature feature with the ocean involved too. I'm seeing a trend.
I never even thought about that when I was looking at this. I'm like, oh shit. But I got another one for you, and there's very little ocean involved. Ooh. I want to give a huge shout out to, we actually did an episode about this a long time ago because I was like, we need to. Ginger Snaps 2. What an amazing werewolf movie.
Mitch brought that up to me recently about a Ginger Snaps 2. And I recently watched Ginger Snaps and fucking loved it. I love Ginger Snaps. But I didn't know there was a sequel.
Dude, there's actually 2 sequels.
Oh, God.
There's 2 sequels, and they were filmed back to back, and the third one makes no sense. But the second one, awesome. It totally reminds me of, it is how James Cameron, like, aliened up aliens. It's what happens in Ginger Snaps is, like, they kick it up so much more. And, like, I love Ginger Snaps for being, like, an analogy to so much, you know what I mean? To like growing up as a woman, but it's also amazing the sequel where it's basically just like, it throws a lot of those concepts away and just goes straight for this is a hunting movie, basically.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
When you said it was recorded the same time, like directed and created at the same time as the third one, apparently now too. I didn't know there's a third one, but now there is. I immediately thought of Sleepaway Camp 2 and 3 because they were recorded back to back too with the same location and actors, and they ran out.
I love those movies.
Yeah, I love them too. But in 3, they run out of money, and they can't afford certain scenes, so they're so cheap. But I love it so much.
I think honestly, it sounds stupid, but 3 out of all of them has probably my favorite intro. where it's like the girl getting like run over by the bus, and then it just goes into like wicked guitar solos. I'm like,
Yep.
this is incredible.
I low-key like the concept of like having inner city kids hang out with like rich, like privileged kids, and like they have to go to camp together. Like I fuck with that. That's kind of sweet. And they disguise Angela with her just wearing a wig. Like genius. These are some solid sequels. Like these are the types of sequels that I need to like know about, you know?
Oh,
so,
I didn't even give you like all the shitty ones. Like, hey, do you want to watch fucking, oh my God, what is it called? Stepfather 3.
Oh God.
That's on Tubi if you want to watch that one.
Okay. This is good to know for my Tubi watches. But for those tuning in, so Buzi is on the Terror Table, and like I love that podcast, Booze. I'm not gonna lie. You guys are hilarious. Like,
thank you so much.
Your guys' chemistry is like amazing, and like I do this thing where it's like I'll listen to it, but like I won't see what the episode's about because I want to like hear the intro and get excited, you know, for it. Right. So like I love when like Mitch will be like, "This is a Saskatoon podcast," and I'm like, I don't know what that is, but I like the sound of it. And then
you're like, what the fuck are you guys talking about?
I just thought it was kind of fucking cool to just say Saskatoon. And then he'll be like, I'm here with let's see who's here. And then you'll be like, Buzi. And you're like, hi, it's Buzi here. And then it's like you hear Kyle just like, hey, it's Kyle.
You know what? It's the funniest thing is depending on the day, our energy will be all over the place. So like a lot of times one of us will just be like super excited and we have to try and like feed off of that. Because you know, like podcasting it's a funny thing, and I feel like we've been podcasting together so long. It's like having this weird relationship. You know, like we feel like we argue like a married couple about dumb shit.
The way I describe it to people who don't listen to the Church Table, I'm like, it's like the most genuine love of movies kind of podcast. Like they genuinely love the movies they talk about, even though they probably don't sound good. They talk about it like it's a masterpiece, and I respect that. The jokes always hit too. Like no matter what, the jokes always hit. I'm like dying laughing, and I'll catch myself thinking, how could I incorporate this joke in a daily conversation?
Right, that's like that fucking that SpongeBob meme where they're got the binoculars. Write that down.
Yeah, pretty much. Or like I'm still like I need to watch Jimbo because the conversation you and Mitch had about that like cracks me up still to this day. But no,
Thank you, man. I appreciate that so much. That's like I'm so glad that, you know, because that's like at the end of the day, that's all we want is just like to make people feel like they're hanging out with us. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, and everyone's probably thinking, Chris, why are you jerking Buzi off? But it's like, seriously, like listen to the Terror Table. Like it's a pretty great time. What I want to know is you wanted to talk about Jurassic Park, and everyone I've been asking have been saying like you love Jurassic Park. So like, do you remember when you first saw it?
I totally missed this when we were talking about sequels, but a quick shout out before we talk about Jurassic Park to Carnosaur 2, one of the stupidest Jurassic Park ripoff movies I've ever seen, but it's incredible.
Is it one of those like those Jurassic Park ripoffs where the covers look amazing? Is that like one of those? Yeah.
Oh, even the covers kind of it was funny. It basically took the story of aliens but with dinosaurs. So that's probably why I like it to this day, but it is just garbage.
Not gonna lie, it kind of sounds tight. Definitely one of those Midnight Madness movies I want to watch.
Oh, dude, it's a Roger Corman movie. It's fantastic.
That's so good to know. I've been actually like unintentionally watching like these Roger Corman like 50s and 60s movies, and like I'll text Daniel because he's like my encyclopedia for like old horror, and I'll be like, who's Roger Corman and like what's this movie, and he'll explain it, and I'm like, this is fascinating, but the movie's not good.
Dude, Roger Corman, like no word of a lie, is like one of my favorite directors. Even if he hasn't made that many great films, it's just like this like stick-to-itiveness and this ability to make like he's put out a ton of shit and influenced and gave everyone who's big a job. It's kind of, you know, he's a factory, man.
Dang. Like, yeah, Daniel said there was like a Roger Corman school, and I think he said Joe Dante went through that.
Tons of people. It's insane. Like that's a very fun like film rabbit hole if you ever want to go down, is just look at all the people who Joe Dante gave a job to who went on to do better things. Like,
right.
You know.
Man, that's so cool. But okay, so Jurassic Park, like when you saw it, did you instantly fall in love with it? Did you like love like dinosaurs growing up as a kid, like all of us did, or what?
Dude, I was definitely, I got caught up in the dinosaur mania. I had like all the like Jurassic Park action figures. I used to have so many action figures, and I wanted to be a paleontologist when I was a little kid. Like,
oh man,
dude, it was like every part of me like just loved dinosaurs, and I think it's that idea of just something that like is larger than life. You know, like it's unfathomable to think like, holy shit, these things actually did exist at a certain point. I think that's the part that blows my mind, like even still, which is like a wonder you have as a kid, right? Is like, holy shit.
Yeah, some of my favorite toys. I think I had like a T-Rex toy that was pretty sweet, and I make it fight like my Godzilla '98 toy. So it's like, I think,
dude, I had a Godzilla '98 toy too. Oh
yeah, oh dude, yeah, hell yeah. Like I think this is like, I need to find more people. Like, hey, did you have a '98 Godzilla toy? Yeah, and it's like start like this club, because like
I
kind of
remember the cartoon.
Yeah, the animated one. Yeah, that was good. It was a Saturday morning cartoon.
I used to get up early to watch that shit. It was like one of these rare channels that I had where like it was like Saturday we're watching Men in Black the cartoon followed by Godzilla. Yeah, dude.
In like the Jackie Chan cartoon.
Jackie Chan Adventures. Yeah, that was like this solid morning lineup.
Yeah, dude. I remember Godzilla's intro, like they're just like daily adventures where Godzilla would help them, and then at the end like climb the Empire State Building or whatever.
Yeah, you know what the weird part about is like that TV show is fairly trash because Godzilla isn't in very much of it. It's just about these like weird characters who aren't even in the movie.
Yeah, but they're like influenced, like they're part of like the news crew or something.
Yeah.
What a weird spin-off. We need that back though. We need
that energy of weird TV shows with movies.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I think when I'm thinking back to it now and watching all these Godzilla movies, I think I went the route of like, I feel like a lot of people were like, dinosaurs are cool, and like Jurassic Park, you know? And then it's like, I feel like, because I didn't watch Jurassic Park growing up, I was like, I love dinosaurs. I love the movie from Disney, Dinosaur, that CGI
movie. I went to see that when it came out in theaters. Those Carnosaurs scared the shit out of me as a little kid.
I had like toys, like the little puppet toys. I thought those were kind of cool. I used to like grab my brother's ear and like pull on it. Like I thought that was really cool.
That's like an oddly terrifying. I don't know. It just felt like when I was a kid watching that, is that movie got real serious, real fast.
It does.
And it like talks about dealing with like there's like martyrdom in that movie and shit. Like.
This is why like I have problems today. I think it's because Dinosaur 2001 or whatever. But like I went like that route with like weird dinosaurs, and then like Godzilla was like my thing. But like I never gave second thoughts to like maybe like watching Jurassic Park. Like so like when we talk about like Spielberg, like I've seen so many of his movies, but like Jurassic Park was such a weird one for me to finally, in Jaws as well, was like ones where I don't know why I didn't circle back to him so much more quickly. Like I watched Schindler's List like in high school, you know.
So you watched more of his serious stuff.
I thought it was really cool if I, in my young age, watching serious movies and like just saying like I saw these movies. You know what I mean? But I also
were you that kid when like the teacher asked like who has seen this advanced movie, and you're like I have.
Yeah, it was really awkward when the teacher was like, who saw Goodfellas, and we're like sophomores and juniors in high school, and I'm like this, and he goes like, put your hand back down, you have not seen it, and I'm like, I fucking seen it. But yeah, I don't know. I love Spielberg's work. I think at one point I was kind of like annoyed with Spielberg because like his filmography is so expansive, and like he has so many good films. It almost got annoying where it's like, oh, like Spielberg's almost too good, you know? And like that's such a weird thing. It's like I guess what like a lot of hockey fans would have been like, the Blackhawks are so annoying because they keep winning. You know, shout out that early 2010s time when we were winning a lot.
Oh, dude, we had a very solid run of dominance, and I know like people fucking hate it, and it's even now where it's like if my team loses a game, I'll have someone randomly message me like, fuck you. And it's like we're in a rebuild now. Who cares?
Yeah,
like
it's like you're at least 5 years too late, guy.
Exactly. Like I guess.
Yeah, like that's just how I felt for a little bit with Spielberg. And then I woke up, I was like, you're an idiot. Like stop thinking like that. But I think it's because he was like making like War Horse, you know, and I think like Adventures in Tintin. But then I heard Bridge of Spies was really good, but I never got around to that or The Post.
Yeah, and that's one I have never seen either.
Yeah, like these are like these older serious movies, and like I think now I was like at that point. It's like, I need to go back to his roots a little bit, you know? And then when I watched Jaws, it was fine. It wasn't the most ideal conditions I watched it in, but then I watched it again in a theater and I enjoyed it a little bit more. And then now with watching Jurassic Park, I, again, wasn't that crazy about it, but I always knew in the back of my mind, it's like, that's a me thing. Cause it's like, if I watched this when I was younger, I probably would have fucking loved the movie, but like I didn't. So it's like, feel like I was being too cocky, you know? And then when you said you wanted to talk about Lost World, I was like, I should probably rewatch the first one. And I've been known to say I prefer Ready Player One more than Jurassic Park. And I think that's because like a lot of things in that movie are like so nostalgic to me.
Right.
So I went back and rewatched Jurassic Park for you, Buzi. And I did enjoy it a lot more this time around. Yeah, I think it's because I kept thinking like, oh, look at all this nostalgia that this movie's trying to do in 1993, you know? But it's like, I didn't like put into like context, like, you know, Sam Neill and Laura Dern are amazing in this movie, you know? And then in looking at the lens of the T-Rex and the rain scene and thinking like, for its time, like that looks impressive, you know?
Do you think it looks bad now?
I actually don't think they're bad looking movies. I don't know if that's a criticism or not though, but I
just genuinely, because like there are certain scenes in that movie where when they do show all CGI, like when they show the Brachiosaur, when they show it like from far away.
Okay, yeah, that's kind of...
it doesn't look great, but I think to this day, like I think the T-Rex at night looks incredible. It looks incredible. Like it looks like it's real, and I think that's one of the reasons I love it so much.
And I think that these movies like influence a lot of different types of movies as well. Like just like the velociraptors in like The Office chasing the girls, you know, like, oh, I've seen movies try to replicate this and not do it well. So it's like rewatching it again, I do enjoy it a lot more now. I still won't say it's like my favorite Spielberg movie, but like I don't feel as confident in saying Ready Player One is better than Jurassic Park as much now. I'm more kind of like hot under the collar. I'm like,
you know what? I approve of that, and I also just want to defend Jurassic Park because they're, you know, that's my boy. I always got to go to bat for Jurassic Park. Is like the reason that I find that movie holds up a lot better than some of the movies that even came out like 5 years ago is the basis of basic story principles. Is they set up basic ideas that you know that A and B have to happen so C can happen. Those are, you know, they establish, you know, you have to get here to do this, which is a very, you know, it's a very story driven part. So when you do have these flashes of amazing, you know, like the dinosaur stuff happening, you realize it's in the scope of this bigger story as opposed to just kind of a one-off thing. I think that's something. Let's take a shot at Godzilla 2014 over that. Godzilla 2014 just doesn't have basic fun storytelling principles with its characters, which is why no one really cared about the characters, which is why it didn't really hit, right? Whereas like Jurassic Park, there at least, you know, from the beginning of the movie to the end, your characters did develop somewhat. You do kind of care what happens to them, and you're happy when certain things happen to certain people.
And you know what another problem of mine was when I first watched Jurassic Park, the original, was when I was watching it, I was speed running through it because I remember we were going to go see the Lost World, the sequel to Jurassic World, which was horrible.
Oh, are you talking about Fallen Kingdom?
Yeah, Fallen Kingdom. Yeah, like I was speed running through the first movie just so I could get a pre-existing idea of like what this new movie is going to be about. And I remember thinking they're completely different movies.
100%.
And but now that I could sit down and like enjoy it again, like rewatch it and just enjoy it without having the pressures of like, okay, I have to watch this so I can understand this next movie. It was more like I need to rewatch this movie and like give it some actual thought instead of speed running through, which I think is important. So, but I want to really now talk about Lost World, and I want to know your thoughts on Lost World.
Oh, dude, I'm so excited I got to talk about, like, we've talked about this quite a bit on Terror Table. It's always fun when someone's like, hey, do you want to talk about a sequel? It's like, oh, I can talk about Lost World, which is a movie that I forever have thought, like, what a great follow-up to a Spielberg movie, and you know, which are probably the hardest things to do. Like I said, with Jaws, you know, the sequel to Jaws is like hardest thing to do is follow up a Spielberg movie, and I think this movie does a great job in taking kind of those core ideas of character development and adding in those scary dinosaur scenes to give it that those horror elements. Like, I always find at its core, you know, people can say that it's just a regular adventure movie, whatever. There is basic horror elements in Jurassic Park and Jurassic, you know, like, you know, the Lost World. There's a ton of that in this film. I think there's very much like kind of alien-esque cat and mouse kind of situations that happen, and I think that that's something that is kind of lost me. If you want to talk about like Fallen Kingdom, I tried to convince myself I like that movie, but I really don't, and I think it's because it doesn't have any heart or tact at all. And I think that Lost World has a ton of fun things. It kind of has a silly story, but at the same time, it's memorable scenes and ideas that I think is fun.
Yeah. And honestly, I think the best thing about it too is Ian Malcolm comes back, and it's Jeff Goldblum was like my favorite part of that first movie. Like his character, it was amazing. I love Jeff Goldblum, and when he's the lone star returning in this movie, besides of Dr. Hammond,
which was a weird choice. Like I always think that is kind of a weird choice.
Yeah, it feels like in sequel movies now, they take like these small side characters and like give them their own movies now. You know, it's never like you would think at this time in sequels it'd be like the return with Sam Neill and Laura Dern doing another movie.
Yeah, and like if you want to talk about like Jaws 2, has, you know, you have like Brody coming back, where if you didn't, it would be really odd. Whereas that's pretty much what Lost World did, is took kind of a side character. Yeah, he's memorable, but to throw him because he's not a likable character in the first movie. If you kind of think about his actions, he like hits on everybody and is kind of a dick, honestly.
Yeah. Well, I love Ian Malcolm coming back in this movie. Also, the intro to the movie is really sweet with this rich couple on the island. I love that opening of the little girl getting attacked by these little
the little girl from When a Stranger Calls. That's actress from When a Stranger Calls.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know who she was. I just thought
she's done a couple movies since then. I don't think she's done a ton, but yeah, she has a couple movies under her belt.
Well, I mean, honestly, the big thing about Lost World, I'll say it out right now just so we can get this conversation going. Yes. I really, really liked this movie. Ooh. I actually like it more than the original.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. You know what? I'll take that, honestly. That's like kind of a win.
And here's the thing, before everyone's like, Chris, stop blowing your load right now. I agree with you. I like the horror elements because Spielberg started in horror. And I feel like he goes back to his roots a little bit in this movie. You know, the first one has so much wonder and adventure with some sequel or some horror sequences for sure. But this one, it feels more amped up and there's a sense of urgency that I really like.
It's definitely like the dirtier version, right? Because they don't have like that big, like in the first Jurassic Park where they're going through the big doors, you know, and it's like, what do you got, King Kong in there, like that, you know? And that's very much that wondrous scene, or like, oh, the Triceratops. Whereas, the sequel is very much like, yeah, you guys know what a fucking dinosaur is now. Watch everybody run. Like,
it's also so incredibly violent. And it is graphic too for a 97 Spielberg movie, which I guess like you could say like Saving Private Ryan was such a graphic, violent movie too. But it's weird to see so much blood on screen in a Jurassic Park movie. At least in my eyes, I wasn't expecting that, and I think it works so much better to its favor.
It does, like overall, they really amp up like the body count, and it does feel like you can kind of see those roots of it being honestly like kind of an Aliens version of a sequel, where they're like, we're adding more people, we're adding more teeth. That's, you know.
Yeah, and here's the thing that's great about it. It doesn't sacrifice like story or plot for more violence. It also doesn't sacrifice technological improvements. Like the first 1993's Jurassic Park, I still think, it's a very good looking movie. It's got some dated looks on it, but I think it's still a very well made looking movie. It's a Spielberg movie, of course. But here's the thing, 1997's Lost World, I think like with the CGI, the technology looks better. I think the dinosaurs look better. And I think that's kind of a rarity in the sequel genre. I mean, like you said, like Aliens, like those xenomorphs look just as good as the original in the first one, if not better, because you have more on screen. And I have to.
And they definitely like streamlined the look of them, and which I feel like they did a lot in this movie, because every Jurassic Park movie, the raptors look a little bit different. That's like a common thing.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. That's sick. Shout out the raptors real quick.
Yeah. I'm so glad you enjoyed this movie, though. Also, it's really interesting, yeah, that having like this is what I know Jeff Goldblum from. Like, I didn't see The Fly till like years later, so this is like my first Jeff Goldblum leading role movie. This is where I always go to is when I think of him. Honestly, is and same with like this is my first experience of like Vince Vaughn as well. I always think, and I've heard people say kind of various things about him, and this was always my first experience to him, and I find his character to be like fairly likable in this movie.
Yeah, I don't like dislike any characters in this movie at all. Like, I even think like the character of Roland, I enjoy his character. The guy from Fargo is pretty entertaining. Yeah, and like
I think Roland is such a fun character for the movie. Is that he's the only one in the history of like so up to that point in the film franchise that didn't give a shit about seeing dinosaurs. He was the first one in any of these movies. As soon as he saw him, he's like, I want to fucking shoot that thing.
And they come in so nonchalantly, like their introductions, like halfway into the movie, they show up, and it's like, oh, sweet, like look at this, and like I said,
and
like,
you never question it really. You're just like, oh, everything makes sense. Like, sure, they're sending people out, cool. Like,
yeah, it's like an island, so why wouldn't there be like some people with guns wanting to come on here? Like, it makes sense. But yeah, I kept thinking throughout the movie is like every character. I mean, I get Jeff Goldblum's daughter. So I've heard people say who've seen this movie kind of criticize like her on-screen time, but like we don't know that much about Ian
find her
Malcolm.
that annoying, really.
Yeah, if anything, I think it
She
improves.
definitely did help with like filling out. Yeah, sorry, that's totally what you're. Yeah, he does like she does really help fill out his character, and I also think is it Laura Dern? God, what is her name? Not Laura Dern.
Julianne Moore.
Julianne Moore, sorry, I think does a fantastic. I think she is a great part of this franchise too. So Sarah Harding is definitely like an underrated character for this franchise.
Yeah, I'm because I haven't seen the third one yet, and I haven't even seen World. Does Julianne Moore return back, or
In the third one, no. You know what? I am so excited for you to see the third one because it makes no fucking sense. It is a very odd movie. There's definitely a sharp decline from this one to the third one, but I think that something else is super exciting about this movie that people don't always mention is the whole scene with the what would you call it, like the extended RV.
Oh yeah, that's just like I think that's like Spielberg's like revisiting the same Jeep scene with the T-Rex in the first movie, obviously.
Yeah.
But he doubles it up with having a second cart, having more people in it, and has a second T-Rex in there as well. It's like
it follows all the same principles. Yeah, there's two T-Rexes, there's more exactly, and they're even having the whole like issue of being pushed over a ledge. I just think that like I still think the T-Rex scene from the first Jurassic Park is better overall.
Yes.
But I will say that like what a great way to fall. I'm not disappointed every time I see this. I think it's a lot of fun. I think it's smart and a lot of cool things happen. It does a great job of building up tension.
Yeah, and like I said, rewatching Jurassic Park definitely like made. I think if anything, I have to credit the rewatching the first one to liking 2 just so much more. You know. I just like, it's a very, very good follow-up, and it has some parts that it borrows from the first movie, but it doesn't like piggyback off of it. I think it maybe just like improves it even just a little bit more than the first one. But the first one definitely is a better movie, I will say. But I personally just really like the sequel. It's a movie I could see myself rewatching as like a fun kickback movie, and like I'm not like upset with anything.
Totally. It's so ambitious too. Like, think about the amount of different things that they did throughout this film compared to like what was a very contained first movie, honestly. Because this movie halfway through turns into like they did just take the story of King Kong. Yeah. But like that's halfway through the movie they do that, and it's not like a 4-hour movie. So that like the amount of stuff that we go through is insane.
Yeah, it does feel like a King, exactly. I was going to say, it feels like a King Kong comes back to New York. I'm so happy you said that. And I think maybe because I love the story of King Kong, and I think maybe that little bit of borrowing kind of helps the movie for me a little bit, because I like seeing like the T-Rex has no charisma compared to King Kong, obviously. If anything, it's Godzilla doing a King Kong impression, but I don't know, it's just kind of fun to see. And I think honestly, Fallen Kingdom tries to like copy Lost World with like the ending of like the dinosaurs are coming to the city now and stuff like
But
that.
it just feels so dead in the water when it hits.
I can't believe they actually try to do that as like an ending to a movie. It's like, get over yourself.
I tried so hard to like Fallen Kingdom. I really did. I was like, these are, Jurassic Park and Jurassic World even. I think the first Jurassic World movie is fantastic. Honestly, I think it's a very awesome movie. But just in comparison, how weird and like PG and boring Fallen Kingdom really is. It's that once again is like there's no stakes involved, which I think is something that those movies suffer from. Like, I think a lot of newer movies suffer from that idea is like nothing really, there's no stakes involved to a lot of things.
Yeah. And I think it sounds kind of weird to say, but I think with at least Fallen Kingdom, I didn't even see Jurassic World. I just saw Fallen Kingdom. I feel like
you're so all over the place with this. You watched
I am.
one in a rush just to watch Fallen Kingdom, which is the worst one. Like, it's like watching the best and the worst one. Just
I'm just a different breed, I think, when it comes to Jurassic Park, maybe. But the thing I can't get over is like, yes, of course, if dinosaurs existed, they would weaponize them. Of course they would in the 2010s or whatever. But my thing is, I don't think we could be that defenseless against dinosaurs in the modern day. But like in the 90s, I believe the struggles of having to fend off dinosaurs. I believe that.
You wouldn't even have like a cell phone to record to like send a World Star when the shit's happening. You just have to live in the moment and be terrified.
Shout out World Star though. I think there's a video of me somewhere like body boxing in like a bathroom in high school and like getting my ass beat. So little background information.
Wow. Dude, you didn't save a link or anything? Like,
Nah.
Hey, I'm on World Star.
Dude, no, I can't take an L on the internet. Like I just can't.
Could you imagine just that being like your profile thing? Is like, watch this video of me getting my shit kicked.
Yeah, just like I'm still like a fragile mind even since high school when that happened.
I'm sorry that happened to you. I'm sorry. I'm just clowning you on it, and
dude, it's all good. It's all good. I'm just like spilling my guts on this podcast episode.
Please, I love it.
But yeah, dude, it's like falling. And when you talk about Vince Vaughn, I kind of groaned at first, like, oh, there's Vince Vaughn in this movie. Because I didn't look up who was in this movie. The only thing I knew was Ian Malcolm was in this. And I was like, I love Ian Malcolm from the first one. So that was what I was pumped about. And when I see Vince Vaughn, I'm groaning. But honestly, he low-key, I felt like he was going to steal Julianne Moore at one point in the movie. And I was like, I wouldn't have gotten mad at that. I was like, their chemistry
he kind of does have that sexy sidekick thing going on. Yeah. I just like that his character came and went, and like he was just trying to hang out. Honestly, I do like that about his character.
Yeah, and I also love the shot when they come out from the cart on the rope, and then a bunch of all those guys show up, and they're like, "We have to work together to get off the island." I don't know why, but I was like, "Yeah, let's do this. Like, let's go.
let's go on the island."
But, yeah, and honestly, I don't
know. It's so hard to follow up. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go.
I was just gonna say it's so hard to follow up, but this movie has so many fun little nods to things, and like I don't know. I guess you're probably not as big into it, obviously, as I am, but like I read the books for these, and the books are quite a bit different. It's very interesting in how much they took from the first book that got cut out and threw it into this movie. There's a lot of actual like spare parts taken from the first book into there, and it does kind of feel like maybe that helped it a little bit in acclimating in terms of not being a wild off the rails sequel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's not like off the rails, but it is like I feel like Spielberg's like, I already did this thing, so I kind of want to do something a little different with this, you know? And I really enjoy it. And like, again, how rare is it that a guy like Spielberg comes back and then does a sequel to his already well-regarded original movie? Like, that's respect. That's like Ridley Scott coming back into Aliens, you know? Like that you don't see that often, you know? And I always respect when directors do that.
And that is such an interesting thing you mentioned that, because I think that's a problem a lot of sequels have in terms of why they don't hold up as well, as you get, you know, you have all these other directors getting thrown to the wolves about this. Mm-hmm. Look at all the different stuff that's happened with the newer Star Wars movies. Yeah. You know, and the idea of like not having forethought into your series, or you know, it's very interesting to be able to. I think that's something that he did hold that in close regard. And the thing, like you said, where you were enjoying the fact that it seemed like King Kong, there's like it totally is just a ripoff of King Kong. Even the fact that the boat's name is the SS Venture that brings the T-Rex.
I'm glad somebody else noticed that. I didn't know if it's like, does anybody know? I was like, I know that from somewhere. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, and I think that's such a fun little scene. And then you also have, like, I don't know if it is a nod to Alien, but just having that little radar scene is totally like, hey, you know, maybe it's not, but that's what I took out of it all these years later.
Nice, Buzi. That's a deep cut. No, I do like that. And I was very surprised by the quality of Lost World. I've always been told it's a fun movie that's not that good. And to me, that's still a good movie. Like, if a movie is fun, then it did its job as a movie, right? And entertained you.
I'm never disappointed putting on or finishing this movie. It's always just like, wow, what a fun ride I went through. And the ability of this movie to just cast off so many characters to their deaths and not even, like, bother filming it. They have this cool concept and they're just like, whatever.
Yeah, I love the scenes where, like, the people who died get disappeared off screen, but you just see blood just coming on screen. I love that. I think that actually works more. And I'm actually surprised, like, when, like, the guy is helping them out of the trolley and the T-Rex is grabbed, I was really hoping he didn't die, even though I barely know the character. I was like, please
Eddie
don't kill
Carr,
him.
yeah.
I was like, please don't kill him. Please don't kill him. And then they rip him in half, and I'm like, whoa, that's actually kind of sweet.
That was the part of that movie where I was confused because, you know, as a little kid, I'm expecting to see all the Jeeps and everything, and they had those slick Mercedeses, and I had, like, little toy action figures of those.
I low-key was like, dang, Spielberg really flexing the budget with these Audis and stuff on the island. It was crazy.
They had to, like, ball out. They're like, we're going to this island, we might as well do it right.
Right. Yeah, I just really like it. It just feels like, I mean, it just seamlessly goes through. Like, it doesn't feel like it's going through the motions, and it feels like it's trying to be too cheesy with its stuff. It just feels like it's just a fun, well-made movie that I think that looks better based because on the time of improvements. And I don't know. I mean, yeah, those T-Rexes look really good, and I love the chase sequences in that movie. I feel the adrenaline of it. Like, I totally get it, because in the first one, I mean, those T-Rexes look amazing. And I agree. Like, it made me feel nostalgic about my love for T-Rexes in that movie. And it is horrifying. But in this one, it's like, what if, like, we put, like, you know, like, acid in, like, the water for T-Rexes and let them do whatever? That's what this movie feels like. They're just like, they're like high on cocaine, just wanting to eat humans.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
They go through that little small part of, like, how much of blah 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 did you give him? And they're like, oh, we gave him this, and then he died, so we brought him back. And it's like, oh my god, he's super turbo angry.
Yeah.
I love that they don't dwell on that. They kind of give you that, and then they never mention again that this T-Rex is just, like, high as fuck the whole time.
Yeah, right. And it just wants its kid. Like, respect that.
And I think one thing that I've spent so much time, which is obviously a waste of my time overall, but I've spent so much time thinking about, like, what is off about, like, Fallen Kingdom versus these original ones. And it's like that they treat the dinosaurs like how you should treat a dinosaur. Like, it's like seeing a bear or a moose. You don't fucking walk up to it. Where it's just like, that's where, like, Fallen Kingdom really threw me off, is like they have, like, best friends that are like velociraptors. Do you know, like, if I was running, if I was running around with a gun and there was, like, a pack of wolves also running around with me and eating other people, I wouldn't, like, nod at one and be like, you know, you take that way, buddy. It would, like, I'd be fucking running.
Right. No, 100%. I love how they hype up the velociraptors in this movie too. Like, they just like, oh, we'll just circle around the nest, and they're like, oh, well, arguing about velociraptors. I'm like, I can't wait for this shit to happen. Like, I'm so excited because they're hyping it up in the movie itself.
Oh, yeah, and that's the best part, is they make those things, like, the most terrifying thing is, like, yeah, the T-Rex can do whatever, but we can hide or get away from him. It's like, these velociraptors are opening doors and shit.
Yeah, also, like, the guy who was in Fargo, I forget the actor's name, but he's in this movie, and the way he dies, I'm like, Oh, it's like the opposite of like the wood chipper scene, like from Fargo. It's with like little baby dinosaurs eating them up.
with the Compsognathus. Yeah.
Oh, shout out that flex right there.
Yeah, there you go. I love that he goes to take a piss and just disappears into like an alternate, like it's almost hot rod length how long he falls for.
Yeah, it is. We follow him for a long time, and he's not even that big of a character. He just tries to body Vince Vaughn, which is a cool part, but like that's about it. But we spend like 10 minutes on him and his death, and it's a good scene.
And it really makes, and that's once again, is it makes you realize that like, I think the whole point of that is to once again reinforce that like that King Kong idea that like everything on this island will kill you.
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, because you see like the herbivores in the beginning, but like the Stegosaurus, I believe, is what they're called. Like they almost straight up crush Julianne Moore, like without regard.
Totally, and that's once again like I like that idea that they don't treat them like they're these weird, like almost dogs that are gonna come and you can touch them and be like wow, and then you ride them into battle later. Yeah. It's the fact that like these are just they're fucking they're dinosaurs, they're animals, they're just these pea-brained things, and you can't befriend them.
I just found it really odd that like I was like, man, this is 1997, and she was getting hyped up on Vince Vaughn having a new Nokia camera. And I'm like, no one likes Nokia cameras. Like, what is she talking about? All excited for that.
It's like, yeah, like how much did you get paid to flex these weird things? Or also I think it's so funny is I had never seen like that extended bus thing that the RV thing. Like now we have buses like that in Saskatoon, but like for years I was like, this thing isn't a real thing. And then I saw an actual bus like that. I was like, wait, what? Why is that a thing?
Yeah. It does have a lot more like flex. Like I think it shows like its budget a little bit, which is nothing wrong with that. I respect it. But it gives you like some perspective to the time too, Also, we got to keep in mind, like, this T-Rex straight up killed a dog. And, like, I think we don't talk about that enough.
I am so happy that they didn't go too into it.
Yeah, I was just surprised.
That's the only saving grace. That was kind of a weird... I was hoping that they would just drink water together. And then, I think maybe it was, like, one of those things, like, he didn't mean to. He was on drugs. That'll be, like, his plea. Do you know what I mean? Like, when they try the T-Rex later, it's like, dude, I didn't mean to eat that dog.
Yeah, it's such a weird part where he's like trying to wake up his parents and tell them there's a T-Rex. Because if I said that to my parents, I probably would have got beat.
Yeah, my parents would not get up and be, talking about like, oh, it's the nightlight. Turn off the nightlight. They'd just be like, we're going to whoop the shit out of you together.
No, my parents are beautiful people. They wouldn't beat me. I shouldn't be making that as a joke. But I just know most parents would not be happy to hear their kids saying that. But again, they started arguing, and I was like, I feel at home at this point now, though.
You're acclimated to the broken dynamic household here.
Oh God. Anyway.
Also, I love that this movie's ending point is basically fuck lawyers. Like that is what you get out of this movie.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about it. They show the kids from the first movie and they're back and they're all happy to see Dr. Ian Malcolm, but they're not pumped to see their uncle at all. And I'm like, yeah, nobody is ever pumped to see their uncle.
Yeah. Oh, it's our lawyer uncle. Yay. Yeah. That is kind of a bummer that they didn't get any other part in this movie, but it also kind of brings it back to the idea of like, makes it that Jurassic Park is supposed to be kind of inherently scary. You're not supposed to be like, wow, I survived once, let's do a double on it. It's very much like, no, one and done. Yeah,
they survived. They moved on, because I definitely feel like that first movie is about them and Laura Dern and Sam Neill being like kind of like surrogate parents for them, and Sam Neill stop being this rough, gruffy guy. And
he totally grows as a character. And that's like a fun part of the underlying theme of that movie.
Yeah, so it's like, we did all that, so let's see what Ian Malcolm does. And of course, Ian Malcolm has to amp it up with the violence and the craziness of the movie, which I wouldn't have it, I think, any other way with Jeff Goldblum's character.
It's like, yeah, what do you want your daughter to do, like, as your big thing? It's like, oh, she's really good at gymnastics, which will turn into a karate montage.
I was thinking, like, that's an insane sequence of events of just her acrobatic twirls to kill a velociraptor. That was pretty sweet.
I did appreciate that a lot. Also, one part of this movie that we never spent enough time in is I just loved the fact that they were in the old part of this thing. I don't know. There's something interesting about like, oh, I want to see what else they got in this place.
Yeah, they do straight up. Like when they're trying to leave the island, they straight up go back to the old parts of the first movie. Yeah, that's a good point.
No,
Jeez.
different.
Different, but like that looks like it though.
Yeah. It's all like the same. It's an idea of like basically when like 92 happened, they cleared everything out, so it looks the same as like what it would have because they just let it go. I don't know. It's super interesting, that whole idea of like, oh, it's this second island and it's just been left to do what it wants. So you have all this shit just falling into decay. I don't know. It's very interesting just to see that, like they're hiding in vehicles that are like unlocked and.
Oh yeah. It just felt like and it just felt like a kind of like a nostalgic trip of like reminding you like this is all like was a big plan, because they talk about it like this was like the failures of the first movie's park and how to improve on it. It kind of shows like the remnants of that and like how much more calm it is. It would have been, I guess, if they just didn't build it at all. I like that kind of part of it.
So are you happy that you watched the sequel? Because I mean, you said you liked it more than the first one. So like,
yeah, it was an all around. The homework for this was all around very, very rewarding. Like I was like, I put off, I was like, I'm not gonna watch Jurassic Park for a while now. But then it's like you wanted to do the sequel, and then Mitch and Daniel were like, rewatch that first one. And it just kind of was like accumulation of like, okay, I just need to do this. And then I did. And I was like, you know what? Like, yeah, I was too hard in that first movie. And I have a lot of things I enjoy on it. And then watching the sequel, it was just like, this is a little bit more my speed. You know, it's like, it's kind of like a horror movie that like borrows from the first movie and then also borrowing from other movies to make it its own thing, and has actors I really like in it as well. Not to say I don't like Laura Dern and Sam Neill at all either, and the fat guy from Seinfeld, but I absolutely love Jeff Goldblum, and I have a soft spot for Julianne Moore. Vince Vaughn, like 90s Vince Vaughn is weird. It's like he's kind of a sweetheart, you know? Like I like it.
He's like the dude next door that just never got any love, really. Like
yeah, and he's kind of like a hard ass. Like he's a skinny, really sweet hard ass because he'll stand up for, you know, his cause and stuff like that. I don't know. It was like, I don't think this movie, I feel like it just like if Spielberg did not do this movie, I would not have been like championing this movie as much now. I feel like, you know, it just has that Spielberg flair to it that every movie he does has, you know?
It just has these characters that no matter what they're in, they can be somewhat likable and somewhat believable in whatever they're doing, which is, I think, a thing that it gets lost a little bit in a lot of action movies.
Yeah, and it kind of has that trope of horror movies where it'll have a level of over the topness, but like it's still like is like it works and it's like fun, you know? This movie has that. Like it's a little over the top that a dinosaur will kill everyone on a boat and the boat will ram into the dock and terrorize the city. Like,
oh yeah,
but
what was your thought of that?
I didn't know what to expect at first. Like I was like, is the dinosaur straight up just coming towards them or like what? But like when it was hiding and everything and you see like the limbs everywhere, it was like kind of dark, Spielberg, like kind of dark.
Yeah, actually there's a whole thing about how they were supposed to film a bunch of other stuff and they never got around to. Like the explanation is that it wasn't that the T-Rex ate everyone and then went down there and got stuck. It was that velociraptors came and ate everyone as they were leaving and then hopped back off the boat.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, that was supposed to be, you know, and that's kind of a fun thing is that they don't ever explain why those people are dead on the boat. But you at that point, you don't care because you're like, holy shit, the T-Rex is fucking around in San Francisco.
I genuinely thought like the T-Rex was like picking them off and then just wanted to bull back on the deck. Because
he's just like really full and like, oh, I'm just gonna go down here.
Honestly, that's what I thought, but I thought it was kind of like really awkward, like for like a movie like Jurassic Park 2 to have like limbs like showing. I was like, was this like left off the set of Saving Private Ryan or something? Because it's like there's arms and there's limbs here, and it's like, oh, this is kind of dark, but like I mess with it, you know?
I think it's hilarious that it was this idea that these people died doing the most mundane thing. Like this guy's dying thing was that he was going to hold on to this little device that opens a giant door. He's just like, you know what? Like I'm going down with this thing.
Honestly, yeah. And you know what? I kind of like in this movie that in Gen, the company, has such a presence. It feels like Omnicorp from like the RoboCop movies.
Yeah,
like,
they're like Skynet. Like,
yeah,
they're
like,
they're
I kinda mess
dicks.
with that. Yeah, I mess with it. I think I love when movies have like this corporation that's bad. You know, I don't know if that's the Marxist in me or something, but like I just like it. You know?
Yeah, and I think those are all traits of what make like, you know, ideas of stronger films are you kind of go back to those root ideas, and that's one of them. And I think they do a great job of being like, hey, fuck this company. Like,
Yeah, I don't know. And I think another part, like we were talking about the Spielberg, like little bit of Spielberg magic that's in his movies. I think sometimes I forget just how, and it sounds dumb because he's one of the best of all time, but like I sometimes forget a little bit about like how amazing Spielberg is in his movies, because it's kind of like a James Cameron thing for me. Like I know how amazing James Cameron is in his movies, but sometimes I forget just how good he is, and I kind of like write him off because I think about
and how easily it rolls out.
Yeah, you know.
It's also very interesting is how much less of a kid-friendly movie this is. Even though it contains a kid, there's not as many of these like heartfelt moments. It's a lot of like you're in a tent and there's which is the scariest part of that movie for me.
Yeah.
Could you imagine trying to sleep in a T-Rex and sticking his head in?
Dude, I swear that T-Rex was like he had like the munchies or something, because he just comes out of nowhere and just smells like her like candy bar she's bearing and just trying to like eat it. I'm like this thing was like hungry, like late night munchies kind of hungry, you know? That's what I kept thinking.
He didn't come for the shirt with the blood at all. He literally was just like, y'all eating a Mars bar in here?
Yeah, he's like the kid in your like high school class. Like they see somebody pulling out gum and they're like, "You got an extra piece."
The more you talk about your experience with the T-Rex, the more I like it. Is that he like got stoned and ate everybody on the boat and took a nap, and that's how he even got to this other place. and then also he's just like looking for candy.
Also, really quick though, one of the parts of the movie that's like, that's gotta fucking suck, but I love it, is the part where the T-Rex is in like the waterfall and that guy's on the rocks and a fucking snake, like the little shit, just goes under his shirt.
I always felt bad for him because he really wasn't that bad of a character. Like, I feel like he was just kind of there to tell everyone what stuff was, and then he just has a snake crawled out his shirt.
Yeah, but it's such a cool sequence where he just crawls into the mouth and then they just see the blood just coming down the waterfall. I'm like, whoo!
Which is some classic horror stuff, and you can hear like the bones crunching. But then the unrealistic idea that instantly Ian comes through.
Yeah! I was like, did the T-Rex just bounce after that? And then
he very quietly left after eating one smelly hippie guy.
All I know is like, fuck that little red and black snake. Like if I ever see anything like that in my life, like I have a grudge.
It's on sight from now on.
Like I'm gonna body that snake. Like I swear, it straight up just slithers right into his shirt. I'm like, oh shit, what a time!
What? I never even thought about the fact that that's totally just a double kill right there, and I didn't even think about that. Like I thought maybe the snake would like escape somehow.
Oh shit! Rest in peace.
Rest in peace to the snake. I didn't even think about that.
Dude, that's a reptile action right there.
Yeah.
I love the ending though, real quick. I really like the peaceful ending of Dr. Hammond narrating like how he wants no interference of these animals and he wants them to live. And it just shows them all bullying and the T-Rex is like beefing and then like all the other animals just like minding their own like shit. Like I kind of like that peacefulness, you know?
That was their total money shot right there. They're like, everything has to be in this. Everyone's enjoying each other's company for a second. They are totally bullying though. They're just like, you stay on that side of the river, we'll stay. It was, they were having it was like a neighborhood barbecue.
Yeah, it's like in Chicago, there are like there are neighborhood barbecues where like you seal off the streets and like everyone comes out. It's what it feels like. It's like the T-Rex are like, yo, we're gonna be chill for a little bit. We're not even that hungry.
Yeah. We had one street in Saskatoon that I remember growing up that did it because 2 of my friends lived on this block. And yeah, every year they would have like a block party barbecue. And yeah, they'd have like street signs put up like, you can't park down here, we're partying. And like, I think that's such an odd concept. But yeah, like watching like movies and stuff and seeing other places do it like way bigger than that.
It's one of the coolest flexes, honestly, to body another neighborhood. Is like to put up like a block party and like say, you can't come in. Like, where's your address? Show me your like ID. I need to know if you live on this street.
Yeah. Yeah, like, are you guys repping 11th Street? Because you can't come in otherwise. Like,
right? My only thing I kept thinking, which was odd after watching the movie, I kept thinking, Hammond wants all the dinosaurs to stay on the island. But the pterodactyls and other flying dinosaurs, they could easily fly wherever they want to. So, like, would someone randomly just minding their own business see, like, a pterodactyl one day just, like, flying over them? If it, like, got adventurous or something? That'd be kind of tight.
Well, here's the thing here. So I'm just going to nerd out for a second.
Yes, sir.
All right. So just follow along with me. Okay. So in the first movie, they mentioned it in the second movie. It's this thing called the lysine deficiency, which basically the InGen has to feed the dinosaurs this certain protein that they can't get anywhere else on the island or they die, that's the concept of why everything's contained to that island. And then in the second one, they basically throw that idea out the window and say that like, life finds a way, which is like such a great it's honestly the best writing tool ever is like, well, why would the dinosaurs now be able to do this? Yeah, I don't know, they evolved or some shit.
It's like which is yeah, it's like literally like what it's like vibranium's concept. It comes from Lost World, you know. It's like, why does this thing exist? Because vibranium, you know. Like, I'm down with that kind of stuff.
Exactly. It's a fun way to throw logic out the window and not have to really overly science it up. Is like, oh, that just doesn't affect them anymore.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But what you're getting at is, yes, eventually they do just like fuck off and leave the island.
But that one part about this movie that's kind of sweet is that Dr. Hammond wants to invite Ian Malcolm back on this expedition because in the first movie they kind of have that little chemistry of like a lot of conversations with each other, almost more than Sam Neill does with Dr. Hammond. And I'm like, oh, he like thought about him enough to invite him to this expedition he's already going to say no to, but that counts for me.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. They use that like in the first movie. That's a writing tool. Is they're setting up is that Hammond is God and he's in all white. And that Malcolm is the devil and he's in all black. Yeah, and it's very funny is that they always have these conversations of creation, I guess, with each other all the time. You know, because he's talking about like it's not natural, and it's kind of funny that they're doing reverse roles while they're playing those characters.
It's so true. Oh, that is so sweet. Man. I'm all like, give me 4 more years. I'll be as smart to notice that in a movie. Besides just thinking about.
No, but like when you mention about like that they have great character like banter with each other, that's why is they're playing on this very basic concept of God and the devil, but they're these altered versions of it, and they're having that maybe that's I'm looking too far into an action movie about dinosaurs, but that's what they take these character ideas from. So it's these very base concepts of like good versus evil flipped in a weird direction. So your brain's going like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's so good. No, die on this hill. It's a noble one. I like this. Yeah.
That's why it's a weird choice to have Malcolm as the one to come back in the second one, right? Because it's going to be like Sam Neill has to go back there to rescue and it's funny is that in the years that followed, there were so many video games and the comic books. There's a comic book series and all this stuff that came from this, and it all explored these ideas of all the characters coming back as these action heroes. All of a sudden, they all had like rocket launchers and guns. It's very interesting. Yeah, like if you play like the Super Nintendo version of Jurassic Park, it's Sam Neill with like a rocket launcher, and you just have to go around rescuing people.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's just a very weird concept that like Ian's the character they brought back for the second one. Nice. The kind of he was the anti-hero.
And I don't know, I when it comes to like video games and like dinosaurs, I always think back to like the Dino Crisis Capcom games, like because I love Resident Evil, but like Godzilla and dinosaurs were so cool for me growing up too. So like, of course, Dino Crisis was one I had to play.
Oh, did you play all of them? Because I think
I played Dino Crisis 1 and 3.
Is 3 the one that's in space?
Yes.
Such a
I'm
cool...
nodding on camera. Yes.
Such a cool game. I think it's such a fun game. All those are very cool survival horror type games.
Yeah, Capcom did them, so like of course they're gonna be good.
Mhm.
But yeah, you know what's weird about Jurassic Park though? Like I had cousins I grew up with, and they had a bunch of DVDs and stuff, and they always had all the Jurassic Park movies on DVD, but I never bothered to like watch them. And it's like, man, I kind of wish I did now growing up. Can you imagine like
There's
8-year-old
there's an
Chris,
alternate reality of you somewhere out there. You know,
like
one of your
8-year-old me watching
doppelgangers.
this? Yeah, like
Yeah.
imagine like watching me watch, Lost World and seeing all this blood and stuff. I'm like, whoa, sweet.
I think it's like I don't tend to watch a ton of like if you ever like listen to the Terror Table or anything, is just I'm very much like an anti superhero movie kind of person. Not anti, but like I don't give a shit, right?
Sure,
I'm not really into like comic book heroes, that kind of stuff. And it's hard for me to really get into an action movie. But when I watch this movie, which is like an action adventure, when I watch any of the Jurassic Park movies, those are ones where I feel like really comfortable in, because it tells like this kind of big story on a smaller scale, because it's just everyday people having to deal with dinosaurs. It's kind of, I think I like those concepts.
Yeah, I think what works about it is like they are smart people, but they're not invincible,
Yeah,
Like
nobody has a super skill. Nobody's really good at any, in the first one, I guess they had like Lexi, who kind of knew how to code, but that was more of a throwaway, it wasn't like,
yeah,
oh, I'm going to figure out everything, the entire movie with it. It was just a one-time thing.
And what I think it works for the first movie, no questions at all, is like the reason everything hits the fan is because of human interference. It's like human on human, and it just happens dinosaurs are involved. But like this one is like man versus nature, man versus dinosaurs, and like man and woman obviously have to come together for one solution is to survive. And I like that kind of approach a little bit more than like, these are the bad guys and they're using dinosaurs as well.
Yes,
but
I hate that idea of taking nature, like these are bad nature dinosaurs. It's like, no, they're animals. They don't understand this shit.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it works in its favor, at least for me more. Again, my tastes aren't for everyone as well. Anybody who listens to that will know that. But no, Lost World was like a very, very welcoming surprise. It was kind of like my Pet Sematary 2 discovery, like when I had with Daniel. Like I hadn't seen the first and second original, like the original Pet Sematary, but I watched like the remake that wasn't good at all. And when I watched the first one, I was like, yeah, it's pretty good. Like I'll put some respect on its name. But then when I watched 2, I was like elevated. I was like, holy shit. Like this is like, why isn't nobody ever talked about Pet Sematary 2 in my life until now? And like, that's kind of felt with Lost World. It's like, where was I when this was like a big thing,
I always feel like this movie goes hand in hand in a weird way with like Godzilla. And it's so weird that you never had any of that crossover, because I was kind of like part of that dinosaur craze, and it's honestly why they made Godzilla look the way it did in the 98 Godzilla, is to kind of be more of a T-Rex and less of an iguana.
That's so true. But 98 Godzilla, they say, is a Komodo dragon, but there's no but in like the original Godzillas, they realize its origin it was a lost dinosaur that became a radioactive thing. But I don't know why I never really went to at one point. Finally, dinosaurs stopped being as cool, but like Godzilla was always cool, and then like King Kong with Peter Jackson's King Kong was just so cool for me too. And then just like anything like with like animal monsters became this thing, and then I think now I'm reverting a little bit back to dinosaurs again now.
That was one part of the Peter Jackson movie that annoyed me, is they had these really cool like dinosaurs on there, and they just got their ass kicked most of the time, which really annoyed me, because I'm also like, I'd rather, Godzilla versus King Kong. I think Godzilla should win. It's a giant monster with radioactive energy versus a monkey. I'm sorry, like we can have this debate all day. Like,
yeah. I'm personally a Godzilla guy before King Kong, but that's because of, I don't know. I think just that was my first love. Like I watched Godzilla easily before King Kong. But I've only seen 33 King Kong and 05 King Kong. Oh, and I guess 2017's Kong Skull Island. But those Godzilla movies, like, I mean, I'll defend those like to my grave, like easily. I don't know, but yeah, dinosaur. Like I remember like watching Crawl and then like Lake Placid and thinking like, do I like alligators? Do I like alligator movies now? Like, is this gonna be my thing? But like, I think I'm starting to like. I have to credit like King Kong and Godzilla for like my love
Right.
for like these animal horror movies almost now, you know?
Oh, dude, and that's I think a lot of what Mitch and myself take, like Mitch from the Terror Table, is we always call these like nature run amok movies. We love them so much because that's the basic concept. Is all the stuff like take the same idea from Jurassic Park or any of those movies where it's just, oh fuck, we're stuck and we have to survive. It's such a fun and simple concept that you can go back to that well all the time.
So true. And I think that was part of my problem. And I think I had this problem, like, yeah, with RoboCop. You see, I love the Terminator movies. Like even Rise of the Machine, I actually kind of like. I watched it a lot growing up because I had the DVD.
I did too, because it was the closest one that came out. So I was like, oh, the one I can see.
Yeah. And you know, it's like when I think of RoboCop, because I didn't watch it until finally this past year for the first time, I always in my mind thought RoboCop was just a cheap ripoff of like Terminator, you know. And now I was an idiot then because I loved the RoboCop.
And now you
movies,
realize like it has so much character. Like...
Right, seriously. And I think now that I'm thinking about it, I always thought Jurassic Park was maybe like too clean of like what you say these nature run amok type of movies with dinosaurs.
Right.
Like it's Spielberg. They're big summer blockbuster movies. They're not going to be like Lake Placid or like Crawl or something. So when I get to it and I have kids, I'll watch it with them. Maybe.
Right.
But now I'm like at least these first two, like they're kind of badass now.
I think you'll find 3. I hope you do watch 3. It has the weird. It's an odd movie and it has such weird charm. And there's like weird theories about this movie like online still to this day.
That's awesome.
Because there's a weird dream sequence in it. And anyway, but like it's so interesting that that you miss a lot of that. But I hope that you do go check it out.
Yeah, I think man, or maybe it was just because Jurassic Park is just so cool. It's just like, oh, it'd be really cool if I just was like, I didn't watch them. Maybe I don't know. Like I'm a mental block I put on myself. I don't know.
I think that's what makes them like really fun is they are super accessible, but they have so many of those elements of like, holy shit, that actually, that's kind of scary, or like, there's some blood and some guts. They, it's not afraid to go there, but to also be a fairly mainstream film altogether.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, I definitely shit on Jurassic Park 1 a little too hard at times. I kind of take that back now because, like, again, I didn't realize the situation I was in when I was watching that first one.
Yeah.
But 2 is kind of like my Pet Cemetery 2, kind of like where it's like.
I'm so happy that you have like a little bit of niche joy for this one.
Yeah, like I swear, like it is kind of like an easy watch movie. Like it's almost 2 hours long, which you think is kind of sus, but like it flies by. Like
it's because they have so many little checkpoints. It's like we have to go here. It's got like a Lord of the Rings almost checkpointism to it. Like we have to go over here and do this thing. We got to go here, and it never feels like it takes too long at any location.
Mm-hmm. And it's like I go back to like sometimes like with sequels. What I like about sequels almost more than the originals is when I watch original movies. Like take for example like the Nightmare movies, like Nightmare on Elm Street. I love 2. 2 is my favorite sequel of all time.
Dude, I fucking love 2.
Yeah, and it's like growing up, obviously I knew the first one was better, but I didn't watch as much as the second one because I didn't want to ruin always watching the first one, and I felt like it was an experience to sit and watch the Nightmare movie. So I'd always watch 2 or 3, and I'm like, I low-key watch these movies so much, I love them now. So it's like I've always had like this little bit special extra affection for like sequel movies more than the originals. And I think like with Jurassic Park, that same thing that's happening again for me, where it's like I've rewatched the first one now and I like it, and it is an accessible movie. But for some part of me, I could see myself going back and watching 2 just a little bit more,
Oh, dude, there's so many. I think it has a lot more interesting, like quirky character moments. Like one of my favorite jokes in the whole of any Jurassic Park movie is when they're calling for Sarah, and there goes Sarah Harding. He's like, how many Sarahs are on this island? Such a like it's funny little shit like that, or like it has those little quirks that maybe the first one wouldn't have put in the same way.
Yeah, or it's like, can I get, what do you need? I need a rope. What else do you need? I don't know, like 3 cheeseburgers, no onions on mine, apple turned over, please.
Yeah, exactly, like funny little shit like that.
Yeah, it's like you're about to die, but you're gonna make a joke. I love it. Yeah, I was like, yeah. So shout out Buzi for this episode.
Shout out you for content. Like, dude, thank you so much for reaching out.
Oh, dude, no problem. Like, I was like, I got to get Buzi on just because, like, I don't know. Like, when you're talking, I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of like Buzi in my opinion in that way. So, like, I wonder what it'd be like if I have him on an episode for a sequel.
Oh, dude, like the amount of times Mitch has been like, oh, dude, like Chris, you and Chris are going to get along with all the, we all like the same movies. And then hearing you like talk about like Godzilla 98, I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah.
Here's the thing, though. Like, I always get annoyed like with myself on this podcast because I'll like have a guest and I will talk about a sequel, and I'm like, oh, here's another sequel that I absolutely love, and I might actually like more than the original. And it's like, is this gonna be an opposite effect? But like, nope, same shit again. It's like, yeah, I kind of like Lost World just a little bit more.
I think maybe you're enjoying the quirky aspects of these, these weird ambitious moments these movies have, because a lot of sequels do take a little bit more swing at stuff.
That's true. And I'm always one for originality and some creativity there. But no, dude, I'm so happy you came on, and now you need to help me with getting Kyle on so we can talk about 50 Shades Darker, because I need to go through that franchise.
It'd be that or like Shark Boy and Lava Girl too. He would probably like.
Dude, does he mess with those?
Oh, dude, he'd go insane for that.
I love I love the banter between, I don't know, it's a special type of banter between Kyle and Mitch. Like, well, Kyle will be like, I don't know if he's younger than all of you or not, but I feel like
he's like 2 years younger than us.
Okay, it shows, because he'll be like, I just came to this party late, I know. And like Mitch is like, oh, dude, like, where have you been on that and stuff like that. And then like Kyle will say something, and then you'll be quiet the whole time, but then you'll just start by saying, what a weird hill for you to die on, or something. It's just like, I'm like, I'd be like Mitch in that situation. I'm like, what the hell?
No, there are a lot of, because like we're not all the same age. So like Mitch is older than me, and then I'm the middle, and then Kyle. So like, it's funny is we all have these certain shared experiences, and then certain ones that maybe like I watched a little bit more of like kids television because I was younger. So like maybe me and Kyle have a little bit more of a crossover with a certain thing. Yeah. And then me and Mitch will remember like certain bands or something. I don't know. It's a very interesting dynamic that way.
Well, I love it. I love what you guys do. It's so fun. Like, I don't know, like Daniel with Cobwebs, like that was my most listened to. I love listening to Daniel talk because he knows.
Shout out
shit.
Daniel.
Yeah, shout out Daniel. Yeah, I lived with that guy, believe it or not, for like 2 years.
And you didn't kill him.
I didn't kill him. No, but like all the things he talked to me about, like before we even thought about ever doing podcasting, like it's so nice to hear other people like enjoy what he says and like, their engagement with it. Cause like I remember thinking, oh, I'm too lucky to know a guy that knows this stuff he's telling me. So I'm glad that works out. But with you guys, it's like, it kind of reminds me of like how I wasn't like back home with my buddies, like where they would drag me to like the theaters and like see movies, and then we would go to like Steak and Shake and eat like a 7x7, which is 7 patties with 7 pieces of cheese, and if you could eat it within an hour.
I've never heard of that. That's wild.
Yeah, it is wild. That's why we're fat here in the States. But but we would talk about these movies we saw in theaters, and like it kind of like listen to Tear Table. It's kind of like, oh, that would be like how it was if my friends were like liking better movies than what they took me to go see.
It's like we're doing that, but we're talking about some weird artsy film at the same time. Still the cheeseburgers, though.
Yeah, like I don't know, they just kind of get like that special place in like remembrance. Was like, oh, that's kind of like me, but like only if it was better. Because like I wouldn't trust you guys and take me to go see a Kevin Hart comedy movie in theaters like my friends did growing up, which I absolutely hate. But oh well.
Okay, wait. Can I ask? Because I'm sure you've talked about a bunch of them, but like. What's a memory of you and Daniel from living together that like what's a real good time you guys had that like maybe people haven't heard of? Because I feel like there's good stories there.
There are like a lot of inappropriate great stories, and there's just like good stories. But there were like times, so like when Daniel and I went to college together, we didn't know each other, but we all started because we lived in a townhouse with a bunch of other exchange students, like transfer students, and so we lived in a townhouse with 5 other people. And Daniel was like the only one who liked movies. So like, thank God for that off the bat. But I didn't know that we were first texting. So when we first used to text, I stalked him on Facebook and I was like, oh, this guy is like old. I'm going to roast the shit out of him. We were in the same fraternity. That was always a good time. I'm trying to think of
what was the name of your guys? Do you guys look have like a cool
we were
or something?
Oh, well, we were part of Phi Delta Theta, and it used to be Phi Delta Theta. Yeah, dude, I was like, my nickname was Fratty Daddy there, but like we were like the nerd fraternity of the block, which was even hilarious.
This just sounds like undergrads. Like all I'm getting is like undergrads vibes.
It was like a bunch of like good kids doing their homework and like trying to act cool by saying like they talked to a girl on campus, and then Daniel would be like, "That's great, guys," you know, like because he was a little bit older than them and
Right.
like he'd be smart about things. But then there would be me, like who was like his sidekick, and I would be like the "F you guys, like get out there and get drunk and like talk to some girls for crying out loud. Like, does that thing even work?" You know, I was like like I was like the most
You're the
non-toxic
hype man.
Yeah, I was like the most non-toxic toxic guy in that group. Because like I respected women and everything, but like I would like be like, "Can you guys like try and like get
You guys
laid,
need to
maybe?"
go out there and consensually get laid.
But like one of the best memories I've ever had with Daniel, and if you talked about it with Mitch, was I used to host movie watch parties with these guys in the basement. And Daniel I'd always have Daniel help me curate. And we put on Cabin Fever from Eli Roth.
Okay.
And everyone shit on it. But like Daniel and I were the only ones who were like, maybe you guys aren't smart enough for this movie from Eli Roth. So that was always a fun time. Is like we put that on. We also put on Reanimator. And there was girls watching Reanimator. So it's like that scene with the headless guy going down on the naked girl. I got so nervous. I'm like, am I about to get canceled on campus for this?
I love having those moments with people where like you and one other person are in this like room full of people can watch these certain like obscure movies, and you two can be the only ones that enjoy it and everyone else just hates it. I've had a lot of moments where like that, and then that's where you realize, like, especially like pre-podcast days, is like, oh, thank God I have people to talk to now. Because before it would be like, you know, you put on like, let's say even something that's kind of mid-rate, like a Children of Men, where it's, you know, it's, you know, fantastic film, but it's not, you know, super, you know, it's not like a super horror film or anything. It's just this kind of fun, thoughtful movie, and people just hate it because there's not action the whole way through. And you have to realize, like, holy shit, I guess some people just don't like certain kinds of film. Like,
if you boys at the table ever got to hang out with Daniel like face to face, like person to person, if there's like alcohol involved after COVID, dude, like Daniel and I will just get drunk and just gush about movies. like when he got Night Beast for Christmas, like he ordered it from Vinegar Syndrome. Like he was like, "Hey Chris, look at this," and I was like, "It's like midnight or something," and I was like, what is that?" He's like, "It's a Vinegar Syndrome movie I just got. I kind of want to put on right now because it's Night Beast." And I'm a fucking Night Beast. That's the funniest shit you've ever said. Yeah, shout out Daniel real quick. He's doing great stuff there, and I love how you guys had him on for that Dracula episode.
Dude, that was such a fun episode and series, honestly, going through and like checking out these old films. But just having someone who is like so knowledgeable, like Daniel, on there to talk about it was awesome.
I really love that episode. I don't know. I think it's like almost, I mean, you guys are bigger than like anybody else I know. So it's like, I'm sure you guys get that all the time, but like, at least in my eyes, I always think,
my goodness, no.
People are like Chris and Daniel, you know, it's like we're like the Coen brothers or something. Like we're just so tight. But I'm like the three amigos on the Terror Table is like one of the equal delights. I like podcasts with co-hosts that know each other personally and like do shit together. You know, there's something special about that. So that's why I think,
you know, there's higher stakes when we shit talk each other, but I appreciate that so much. And it's like, I never feel like we're like a big podcast at all. It's just like, we just love getting to talk to other people. Cause we do feel it's like, we've been doing it for so long that it's basically just kind of a part of your life and you don't even think about it. You know what I mean? Cause like it's just like, oh yes, this the podcast. Yes.
Well, I just love what you guys are doing. Daniel's actually turned me on to them. And once I heard the first episode and the jokes that were cracked, I'm like, oh, yeah, this is going to be like the podcast for me.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
And I love being on here. And I've been checking out some of your episodes and I love this show. It is so much fun. And I love that you're giving, I actually mentioned it to one of my friends today. He's like, hey, what are you doing today? And I mentioned, you know, like what your podcast is about. And he's like, so all he talks about is like sequels and like ones that people haven't heard of or ones that like people really want to go to bat for enjoying. And I was like, yeah. He's like, I'd listen to the shit out of that. And this guy doesn't listen to podcasts at all. He was like so blown away. So like, I think I got a new fan for you.
I appreciate it.
You definitely got me.
But yeah, Buzi, dude, thanks for so much for being on here. Thanks for like getting me to watch, like give Jurassic Park another chance, but also thanks for like letting me explore Lost World, dude. I love how you love these movies too. Seriously.
Thank you so much for coming in with like, an open heart to it, because like I genuinely, out of all these movies, there's something so special and very touching about the first two, especially, I think. And I'm so excited for you to watch 3. 3 is like, it's a trip.
Yeah, I've heard some things. My friend Nathan, he loves. Isn't there like a scene where there's like an Alan? Like there's an Alan guy.
That's the dream sequence I was talking about before.
Oh, okay. See, he'll always like sometimes just go Alan, and I always thought like it's just funny the way he said it. And then when he said it's from Jurassic Park 3, I'm like, I have no context to what that is, but okay. But I like when you go Alan.
Dude, just if he ever says it, just say "wake up" to him.
Okay.
That's all you gotta say.
Well, that's good. But Buzi, if people want to check out what you're doing, man, like where can we find you? It's pretty easy, but just in case.
Like where, like internet wise, like obviously, like check out like. Oh gosh, I hate plugging myself personally, so I'm just gonna say like, hey, check out the Terror Table, straightforward Terror Table, Instagram, Facebook. We have a website now, so you can check that out. We're trying to get like someone to look at it every, you gotta have that traffic once in a while, and
I've already looked. I've been on it before. I'm like, what kind of web design program did they use? Let me go scroll all the way down and like check it out. And the merch you guys have now too, eh?
Yes, guys. That's like a brand new thing. So yeah, we're still taking orders for that. If anybody wants merch, we got a sick design by our buddy Jambi. His Instagram Jambi_lives, I believe that is. My Instagram is, I think you mentioned it before, so it's Night of the Living Deadlift. There's underscores between each of those words. I'm not going to do the whole thing. It's annoying. But
love it.
I have Twitter and Letterboxd, but I forget the names of them. But like, if people follow me or somehow, if you follow Mitch, you can follow me.
Yeah. Well, Mitch Oliver will plug too, who's another co-host of the Terror Table, and we'll have Buzi's info all down in the descriptions below. But Buzi, man, your handle on Instagram was like, I always thought one of my guests who did Gremlins 2, Noah Klein, his handle is at Shrek Squirt. And I don't know why, but I think that's hilarious as fuck. But like when I saw that yours is Night of the Living Deadlift, I was like, that's golden. That's taking the crown now.
Yeah, I wanted to be like, hey, I love horror movies and I'm an idiot and like to lift weights once in a while. So let's throw those two things together.
Maybe you're just built different, guy. I don't know. But
I guess so. It's whatever's in the water down here.
Yeah, seriously, I don't know what the water is like up there, but we need it down here. But Buzi, thank you so much for hopping on. And for those listening, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I had a lot of fun. If you want to have Buzi back on, make sure you like this podcast, share it with your friends. We're on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcast low key I mess with, so we're on there. But you can follow us on Twitter. Yeah, you can follow us on Twitter at Inside Sequel. You could follow my dumbass at Hertastic_Chris. I also have a stupid YouTube channel called Hertastic Reviews you can check out, where I get drunk on camera for you all on live streams. And we just do top fives and then rant about movies. So check that out.
That sounds fantastic.
It's a weird following that I respect. I don't know.
You seem like a very enjoyable drunk. Like a very happy drunk.
I think that's why Daniel always tries to get me drunk when I'm around, because he knows I'm just that much more tolerable.
Right.
But thank you all for listening. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the podcast and the channel. Show that love. And remember, if you're not watching the Jurassic Park movies, do you really care about cinema?
If you don't watch Jurassic Park 1 and 2, you can go fuck yourself.
But thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next time.